Line right now, Don Bolduc, General Don Bolduc. He's a Republican nominee for U.S. Senate in the great state of New Hampshire. General Bolduc, sir, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us again on Breitbart News Saturday.
It's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me. My best to your listeners.
Yeah, so General, we saw two major developments in your race this week. First and foremost, you had your debate with Senator Hassan. I watched most of the debate while we were it was earlier in the day, so I'm used to these primetime debates. So I was doing a million other things during it, but I watched 45 minutes of the debate. It was really incredible the way you laid out her on the issues. Then we saw a poll that came out this week shows you're straight up tied with Senator Hassan, 45-45. I mean, this thing's coming down to the wire. So talk to us about, let's start with the poll and where things start in the race, and we'll get into some of the things that happened during the debate. So lay out for us, General, where do things stand on the ground right now in New Hampshire? How do you win this thing? And where does it go here in this final 10 days?
Well, obviously, we have the momentum, and she does not. Her campaign is stalled. She's come down, I think, 4 points now. I've gone up 11 points to tie her in the polls. And this is without any margin of error factoring in. This is 100% momentum that we have. And once you get that momentum, you can't stop it. And, she has 10 days to do something. Well, what does she do? She brings in Jill Biden, which I am thankful for. She brought in Cory Booker, which I was thankful for, because that only tells Granite Staters that she is going to stay the course, continue to do the status quo, continue to support Joe Biden's 100% failed policies, and Chuck Schumer and the Democratic Party 96% of the time, and that is only going to continue to hurt Granite Staters. She's not going to hold herself accountable. She's going to continue to do Zoom engagements and, rig the debates that she faces me in to her advantage, which she has done repeatedly. And she's just unwilling to face people. And I have done 60 town halls between the primary and the general election. I just left one with first responders, teachers, tradesmen. Room was packed, standing room only, talking to them and how I was going to have their back, which Senator Hassan has not had their back. And she demonstrates that with her votes. So right now, people are seeing it. We got ads out now that are, exposing her lies that Washington politicians always do. And they're seeing that he voted for inflation. They know I'll fight it. He's raised taxes. I won't. And she's a rubber stamp, whatever Washington does. I bring in Tulsi Gabbard, Nikki Haley, and others that are, independent, strong women who want the best for America, not what a political party wants or a political leader wants, but what's good for this country and more importantly for me, what's good for Granite Staters. So we're on the high ground here, and we are moving forward.
Right. So now, General, okay, so now getting to the debate. So I watched the debate, and one of the things that she said during the debate that really stood out to me is one of the biggest lies of this election is she claims that she's a moderate. She claims that she is the most bipartisan senator in the history of bipartisanship, right? Like, I think that I'm paraphrasing there when I say that. But the point is that she claims that she's the most bipartisan senator in the Senate, yet she votes close to 100% of the time with Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden. How square that circle for us? How can that be true? But also she votes with them all the time.
Yeah, it can't be true. And let's just look at this. That whole bipartisan award, it was a political award. Liz Cheney was one of the voting members. It was packed with Republicans and Democrats across the board that do this to us. Because, it's both sides, and we have to account for that. And if we don't account for it, we're never going to change anything. At the end of the day, that award was a political award to try and make her look good and have something to say to distract voters. that wasn't actually a lie. I mean, she actually got that award, but it's not a bipartisan award. It's a political Washington, D.C., career politician, support special interests, lobbyists, and the wealthy political elite. That's the kind of award it should be. It should be, the best career politician award. And the criteria is, supporting special interest lobbyists and the wealthy political elite at the expense of your constituents. So it is a big lie, and everybody knows it. Unfortunately, the media doesn't hold her accountable, and I took them to account today. Listen, you ask me all these questions, hard questions, yet you don't ask her any hard questions. You pitch her, a softball, and then you let her lie. You know it's a lie. You have access to the same information I do, yet you just either ignore it or reinforce it, and it's pretty darn sad. Start doing your job for Granite Staters because that's what Granite Staters deserve.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of the media, so her campaign actually kicked a reporter out of an open press event. By the way, I spent a lot of time in New Hampshire over the years. I actually grew up just down the way in Massachusetts, just south of Boston. And so I spent time there as a kid and then as a journalist later in life. And frankly, General, I was there for the final month or so of the 2014 Senate race when former Senator Brown was running against Senator Shaheen. Shaheen did the same thing to me. She kicked me out of events, and then she had to apologize for it later. I haven't seen an apology from Senator Hassan. I haven't seen her rectify the situation. But the thing is that no wonder why the media is compliant. They're just, they don't ask her tough questions because they get kicked out of the events and then they won't get to cover them. But that's what she's done. I mean, I found that pretty remarkable that she was kicking reporters out of events.
Yeah, absolutely wrong. Inconsistent with the First Amendment, right? He is a registered press, an award-winning, a journalist, and the New Hampshire Journal is an award-winning, media organization, and she's going to kick them out. I let them all in, right? And do they represent me well? No, they do not. Are they fair to me? No, and I'm not whining. It is what it is, and I know it before it even occurs, but it is part of my responsibility to adhere to our Constitution and the First Amendment. And, she has closed events for a reason. She communicates through newsletter and email for reasons. She doesn't do town halls for a reason. And when she does them, they're Zoom town halls, right? So, she's just hiding. She does not want to be held accountable. She does not want to be responsible for her actions in any way. She's not transparent because she can't be. And, oh, by the way, lastly, you can't trust her. You can't trust her word. I just invited her to a Lincoln Douglas debate next week. She can pick the time and the day on the Capitol steps to talk about everything. Shoulder to shoulder, coffee breath close. Let's do this. Invite everybody to come. And let's do it. Let's get it on. Let's stand up for what each other is going to do and what she has done. So I'm waiting for an answer. I don't think I'm going to get one.
Yeah, in general, yeah, look, I hope she would do it, but I don't expect that she will because of the abysmal performance she had in the debate earlier this week, where it was, there's no way she's going to do a Lincoln Douglas debate because she got a debate with all the, these local media folks, fine folks and all, but they're asking about all sorts of different things, and their questions are sometimes focused on what people care about, but like usually not. And frankly, the one time it got to the border, right, like I was shocked when I heard her say she supports Title 42, right? Like, which is the thing that they use to public health to keep the migrants out, and they keep the numbers lower than they would be. I mean, frankly, we've got millions of people streaming across the border under the Biden administration's policies, but it would be even more than this. It would be double that if it wasn't for Title 42. She says she supports it, but she voted against it in the U.S. Senate, right? Like, all you have to do is compare, and that's not the only time, She talks about how she supports all this energy stuff. She voted against that. She talks about how she supports this, that. You look at her voting record; it doesn't match up with what she says on the campaign trail, and I think that's what the people in the live free or die state are tired of. They want straight shooters. They want somebody who's going to actually do what they said they were going to do. And I think that's a fair ask from the electorate of their elected leaders. What say you?
Well, I agree with you 100%. And all those things that she lied about or tried to deceive people, I pointed out at the debate, but I wasn't given much time to expound upon it. And it certainly wasn't anything that was acknowledged by the moderators. They just let her get away with it. When I say something, they always want to double down on it, right? That was clear. And we had 45 people in the audience that were forced to wear masks, right? Forced to wear masks. And I said, listen, you want me to show up? I'm not wearing a mask. My staff is not wearing a mask. My wife is not wearing a mask. We're all going to come in there with no masks on. There's no reason for this. I don't even want the audience in masks. But that was theater, because the very next day they had the Congressional District 2 debate, and nobody was wearing masks, not even the audience. So that was something that they were trying to get me to go off on, right? But I didn't fall for their bait because I knew exactly what they were trying to do. And so this is what she does. And you highlighted it perfectly. And it's just a matter now of getting other people to recognize it, because it doesn't matter what political party you're from. She is going to hurt you, and she has hurt you, and she hasn't served you, and she doesn't deserve a re-election or vote. And so it's time for change, and go to donbolduc.com to get that change done, because I will serve you.
So, General, let's go down a couple of these policy issue fronts, right? So let's talk about inflation first and foremost. So, again, another issue where she's trying to act like she cares and that she's trying to do something about it, yet she voted for every single one of these $6 trillion plus in new spending pieces of legislation when they came before her in the new spending pieces of legislation when they came before her in the U.S. Senate over the last 2 years. So you want to talk about who caused inflation? She did. Talk to us about this. How would a Senator Bolduc be different than a Senator Hassan with regard to the economy and inflation and the energy and the gas prices?
Well, first of all, I've signed a pledge here in New Hampshire to all Granite Staters and Americans saying that I will not sign anything that raises taxes, and I will not. And so the Senate's going to have to be very, very careful how they bundle bills under me, because I'm going to be looking at every single one of them and how, these omnibus bills negatively affect people to get across, pork and stuff like that. The Inflation Reduction Act was loaded with tax increases. That needs to be reversed. 87,000 IRS agents. It's going to cost us more money, and it's going to, really weaponize that organization even more against Americans and Granite Staters. This is absolutely wrong. Those type of things. Reversing our energy policies. And I'm not even sure it's a policy. It's just a series of bad decisions that Biden's made that she has not either done anything about, said anything about, fought against because it's an executive order, or just, allowed, the majority in Congress there with the vote, the finalizing vote of Harris, to rule the day and continue to hurt us. Closing our borders will go along, not closing them, but securing them and enforcing legal immigration will go a long way. And not only protecting Americans, it's opioids, human trafficking, weapons, and other things, but it will save us money. Not sending all this money out of the country, the things that we should be investing in America to pay back our Social Security, to make Medicare stronger, to ensure our police officers have all the resources that they need. We need to refund the police, not defund them. We need to do things like make the government smaller. Department of Education and other agencies that are just, getting in the way of states being more effective in serving people and, reducing tax dollars. This is a huge problem, but it starts with reversing the energy policies, stop the crazy spending. Besides, she just voted no on a bill that would regulate and stop unnecessary spending until inflation comes down. She voted no for that. Nobody takes her, nobody holds her accountable for that one either. It's just unbelievable. So anything that she's voted for is usually something that, is something that we need to reverse. And what the Biden administration has done needs to be reversed and put him on the spot, make him stand in front of the American people and be transparent on why he wants to veto something that's going to help them. And that's not going to go over well.
General Don Bolduc, sir, Republican nominee for U.S. Senate in the great state of New Hampshire. We're watching this one with great interest. I really want to thank you for joining us here on Breitbart News Saturday. We look forward to having you back again down the road. Where can people go to help you out here in the final 10 days of this election? Get involved if they so choose.
Yeah, please go to donbolduc.com. That's donbolduc.com, BOLDUC. Anything helps. Against this big machine, this big political machine that wants to hurt us. I'd really appreciate your support. And I'm honored to be on the show today, and God bless you and your listeners.